It's a beautiful night for football in Pekin as we approach the halfway point of the IHSA spring football season. Tonight on CSM, Nick Oldfield and Canton look to stay unbeaten against Kanye, Tyler, and the Pekin Dragons. Good evening, everybody, and welcome into our Game of the Week on ClutchSportsIL.com. Tonight, it's the Canton Little Giants looking to stay undefeated against the Pekin Dragons. Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us alongside Joey Wright. I'm Larry Larson. And Joey, it's the smallest school in the Mid-Illini Conference taking on the biggest school in the Mid-Illini Conference, and usually these roles are reversed. Canton sitting at 2-0 in the midst of a sort of resurgence.
Yeah, Canton enters this one 2-0, and the biggest school in the Mid-Illini Conference, Pekin, 0-2. But this is a real test for the Little Giants, Larry. In Week 3, they have a Pekin team that I think is a little bit better than that 0-2 mark. They played a close game at Dunlap to open the season on March 19th, and last season lost versus Morton. They still scored 28 points. The defense fell apart on them a little bit in that one. But Pekin's got a good chance to get into the win column tonight, I think. But Canton, they're firing on all cylinders. 35-0 over East Peoria last week. The defense has clicked. The offense has clicked. Scored a lot of points and limited the Raiders to nothing last week. So curious to see how this one plays out. Great crowd on tap and a great Friday night atmosphere.
It's hard to beat, Joey. It feels like fall in the spring a little bit as you see the Pekin band playing. We're about 4 minutes from game time. As Joey mentioned, Canton is 2-0 this season with wins over Morton and East Peoria in dominant fashion last week, 35-0 in favor of the Little Giants. As for Pekin, they've lost to Dunlap in Week 1 and Morton in Week 2. We'll take a brief pause for our nation's national anthem.
Commander.
There you heard a wonderful rendition of our nation's national anthem by the Pekin High School Band, and now you hear them playing the fight song. Joey, nothing to get you fired up for a little high school football like that.
As I mentioned at the top of the show, it is a great atmosphere here at Pekin Memorial Stadium tonight, Larry. Got here a little bit late, about 5:15, and as I'm walking up towards the press box, you know, you walk through the concourse under the concrete bleachers, everyone's ready to go, a lot of fans walking up at the same time, and as we look beneath us, It's a pretty good crowd here in Pekin, of course. This is the largest stadium in the Mid-Illini Conference, so they can fit a couple of more fans in than maybe some other schools could. So great to see everyone, socially distanced and everything. The precautions are in place, but there are a lot of people here, a lot of people excited for some Pekin Dragons football, and they hope their Dragons can snap the Little Giants' 2-game win streak for the Dragons' first win of the season.
We'll dig into details on what it's going to take for the Dragons to beat the Little Giants here in a moment. But first, anytime we talk about atmosphere, you got to talk about the weather. So we'll take a brief look at tonight's forecast. Game time temperature of about 51 degrees, a 0% chance of rain with winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Could get a little gusty. And Joey, it is going to get a little chilly by the end of the game. End of game temperature at about 40.
Like how you did that from atmosphere to atmospheric conditions, right?
Yes,
it is going to get a little cold. It's going to be that wind. I think is going to be the big thing. I spent a lot of the afternoon outside in essentially what was a field, very windy. So that wind's going to make it feel a lot colder than it is.
It will, Joey. And anytime you talk about wind in Central Illinois, you get the open fields. It's going to be a little chilly. It won't be a problem for Canton, however, because they don't plan on kicking at all. My conversation with head coach Nick Wright yesterday informed me that their kicker is in quarantine. So anytime they're in an extra point situation, they'll be going for 2. The only time they'll be booting it is during kickoffs. And, Joey, that brings me to one of the points that we'll get to in our keys to the game here in a moment. But Canton has only punted twice this year in 2 games.
Yeah, special teams is not a huge emphasis for the Little Giants as you see the Pekin Dragons make their appearance tonight. But yeah, and it goes back to a point I was going to make last season when we saw the Little Giants. We saw them once against Dunlap. It came down to a situation where they had to go for 2 with about 20 seconds left to try and win the game. And unfortunately, they weren't able to get that punched in, and that snapped their playoff hopes, gave Dunlap a share of the Mid-Illini Conference title with Pekin, ironically enough. But I think they've refined everything in the time since, and Nick Wright in his first season at the helm of this Little Giants program, I like that aggression. He's saying, we're going to come out, we're going to go for it, stop us if you can.
Let's take a look at our keys to the game before we get going with our kickoff. And Joey, first for Canton, you see punter not required at the bottom, but how about the in-between? Stay balanced and defensive ends.
Defensive ends is so critical tonight for Canton, is going to be the play of those defensive ends. And it's going to be our guy Drew Petty, that we're going to keep an eye on tonight. 6 sacks, 9 tackles for loss this season. Drew Petty is the guy on that defensive front for Canton. Canton back to receive the kick, so we won't see him right off the bat. And then for Pekin, they've got to key the offense, and especially defensively, they can't allow this Canton team to score a lot of points. So they've got to keep the offense on the field, and kind of going off what we said with the defensive ends for Canton, Pekin's offensive linemen have to be on point tonight. They've got to allow a lot of time to throw the ball, open up a lot of opportunities, gaps up front for the runners.
We're about set for kickoff. Pekin getting set to boot it away. It'll be Logan Buck to provide the swing of the leg. And back to return for Canton. Lucas Goforth and Callie Stein. 2 potent big play threats. Thanks for joining us tonight on ClutchSportsIL.com. It's time for our game of the week. And Goforth fields the kickoff after a few bounces, has some blockers, and is bowled over at approximately just past the 20-yard line.
Goforth is going to be a key guy for Canton all evening long, not only on those kick returns, but in the offense. You can see he's stuck around in the huddle, and we would expect to see him get some touches in the backfield and at wideout tonight, so keep an eye on Goforth.
Of course, Canton's offense led by junior quarterback Nick Oldfield, who has 413 passing yards through 2 games. Junior has impressed many around the area, and here he gives to Stein, and he's not getting anywhere. It'll be a tackle for a loss on the first play from scrimmage tonight.
Expect to see a lot of Callie Stein in the early going in the backfield. What Canton can do is they can run to set up the pass, especially when you have the talent of a Nick Oldfield, who has proven this season he can sling the rock. So I think Nick Wright will run the ball a lot out of the gates here. They'll move to the passing a little bit later on.
Looks like it'll be about 2nd and 11 after the tackle for a loss of 1. And now Oldfield drops back to pass and connects with Jake Miller, the tight end, for a gain of 4 yards. And Joey, Nick Wright told me before the game yesterday, he said that Jake Miller is a player that you're always going to know where he is on the field because that's how big of an effect he has, not only on the passing game but also the run game.
And that was certainly a passing situation for Canton. You know, that 2nd and long, you want to get some of those yards back. You can trust a guy like Miller to come out and make that play. Kind of a nice safety blanket for Oldfield.
But now the junior quarterback faces 3rd and 6. Immediately swings it out right again looking for Miller. And now it'll be 4th and 6. Joey, it looked like Oldfield just kind of rushed that throw a little bit in the flat.
Yeah, wanted to get it out quick and allow Miller to make a play. And this is where things are going to get a little tricky. This has been a great drive for Pekin so far defensively. You know Canton's not going to punt. They're going to keep the offense on the field and go for it in their own territory.
Pekin's defense licking its chops. Looks like Oldfield is back to punt. Takes it, and it's a drop kick that's going to roll. And Colton Hess will down it short of the 40-yard line. So great field position for Wyatt Van Ness, the senior quarterback, and the Pekin offense, Joey.
Yeah, a great first drive for Pekin, and now it's going to be so important for the Dragons to come out and get started early on. And Van Ness, a quarterback we saw week 1 against Dunlap, made some throws when he needed to. I would expect a nice slow and methodical drive here for the Dragons to start things off.
Wyatt Van Ness, a now 3-year starter under head coach Doug Nutter. He's got Kanye Tyler in the backfield with him. The sophomore has had an explosive 2 games so far. Van Ness rolls left to start. He's looking long and checks down. He was looking for Tyler, but it was off his hands. Excuse me, he was intending that one for Logan Buck, one of his favorite targets. And they'll run it back on 2nd and 10.
And you're going to see Pekin run a lot of that sort of play tonight, I think, Larry, because they've got to try and get it around the defensive ends, around that defensive front. You're going to see Van Ness kind of wheel out and try to make the corners and the defensive backs make plays because you don't want to attack Drew Petty and the rest of that ferocious defensive line head on.
Van Ness all by himself in the backfield. 4-receiver spread. Going to look down the sideline, and the pass was overthrown in the vicinity of Levi Burke. The junior couldn't track it down.
No, he couldn't, but I like how Pekin set that up. That was one-on-one coverage. Morgan Cahoe was the defensive back there for Canton. Canton brought the press. They only had 1 safety back, and when you get that one-on-one coverage, you know, it comes down to who's quicker, the receiver or the defensive back. In that time, looked like he had a step, but it was just a little bit overthrown.
We'll see if the Dragons can recover on 3rd and 10. Van Ness once again rolls left, Joey. Makes a man miss. Picks up about 2. That's not going to get the job done on 3rd and 10. So it's going to be about 4th and 8. So, Joey, if you're the Dragons, I think the play call is most certainly to send out the punt team, and that's what they'll do.
Yeah, I think you have to here. You know, it's much the same with the first drive we saw in this game when Canton had the ball. You know, Canton's defense has made it stand, and it's just hard to justify going for it in your own territory this early in the game.
It's Brody Keene back to punt for the Dragons. And Lucas Goforth, the senior, set to return for the Little Giants. Punt bounces and takes a dragon roll, keeps bounding, and will be downed at the 10-yard line.
Yeah, so we've seen 2 punts and 2 drives, and both have rolled favoring the punting team. So, and especially that first punt when Canton sent it away, Oldfield punted it, and it was kind of a watermelon wobbly thing, and it still got a couple of yards for the Little Giants. But now this is a prime opportunity for the Pekin defense. I expect to see them bring a lot of pressure up front. If Canton wants to come out and run it, which I think they might, Pekin's got to be on it.
Oldfield in the backfield with Callie Stein. Rolls out of the pocket. Pass tipped. The tip drill. And Pekin can't come out with the interception. And it looks like we got an injured Little Giant, Colton Hess. Had a lot of contact on that play, and he will immediately head to the sideline, but Joey, risky play by Oldfield throwing into what looked like double or triple coverage.
Yeah, and it became, to borrow a volleyball term, essentially a free ball there. When everyone converged at once, it was wide open for the take, and Pekin just couldn't quite get home. But that's the downside to passing when you have 90 yards in front of you, Larry, is there's just not a whole lot that you can run because Pekin's going to bring some pressure up front. I think they're going to play aggressive and try to force that safety, or at the very least try and force another punt. And when they're bringing that pressure, Oldfield's not going to have a lot of time back there to pass it.
Now Oldfield will go under center. And here's the pitch to Stein. Gets undercut. Nice tackle by the Pekin defense. Looked like number 34. Drake Hawkins was in there on the stop. And it was a big stop. It's hard to stop Callie Stein.
Yeah, Callie Stein's such a physical runner. He can come at you and gain a lot, especially after contact. So keep an eye on him all evening long. And a 3rd and long coming up here. I wouldn't be surprised to see Canton come out with another run, but they've been aggressive so far with the play calling. So watch Oldfield drop back to pass.
That's just what he does. Rolls out of the pocket, throws on the run. And once again, the tipped pass falls harmlessly to the turf. So it could be another 3 and out for the Little Giants. Joey, it would be a very bold move for them not to punt, pinned up against their own end zone.
I would agree, Larry, and I would think that conventional wisdom says you don't have much of a choice. 4th down and 9, but maybe watch a fake. That first punt from Oldfield, only the 3rd punt that they've posted all season long. Didn't have much on it. Maybe you'd try to catch the defense napping, but that would be a very aggressive play call.
Oldfield back to punt, and he will do so. Kanye Tyler ready to return, and he's not going to bother with this one. Canton thought maybe the ball glanced off of a Dragon foot, but it did not. The ball is down past the 40-yard line. So great field position for the Dragons on their 2nd drive of the day.
Yeah, that would have been a great punt if it had landed at the 1-yard line, but unfortunately it didn't. And a short field here for Pekin. But I like the defense that Canton's come out with. They're keeping a lot of one-on-one coverage on those receivers, and they're winning those battles. So we'll see if Pekin wants to come out to Kanye Tyler. Maybe show run here early on, but you see that one-on-one coverage, especially near side.
There is the give to Tyler. Sees daylight, and it disappears. Bryce Walton, the senior linebacker, stops Tyler dead in his tracks after a gain of 5.
I tell you what, Larry, we've only played about 3.5 minutes, but the storyline so far is that battle up front. It's the offensive line versus the defensive line, and so far I think the defensive lines are winning. Tyler got a little there, but he didn't get much.
Another give to Tyler, and he's wrapped up right at front. That time he didn't get anything. In fact, he likely lost a yard. So it'll be once again 3rd and 8.
Yeah, 3rd and long, and this is probably a passing situation here for Van Ness. And I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe one receiver go deep and take a chance here. Although they're laying off a little on the far side.
Van Ness works his way through traffic. He's got room to run. He's past the sticks and more. Tries to make a man miss and slides down at the 15-yard line. Nice move for Van Ness there, and Joey, that's what happens when you've got a dual-threat quarterback with formidable threats downfield. Sometimes that running option opens up.
And it opened up very well there. I believe that's the first time we've seen a designed run for Van Ness. We've seen 2 or 3 from Oldfield, but Van Ness showed those wheels in Dunlap 2 weeks ago. Shows them here tonight.
There's the give to Tyler. Bounces outside. This is where he's most dangerous. He lowers the shoulder into the sideline after a gain of 6.
I think this sets up a trend that we're going to see, Larry. First couple of plays for both teams, first couple of drives, we saw a lot of north-south. Now we're going to start seeing a lot of lateral movement. That north-south wasn't really available early on, but we've seen Van Ness and Tyler both have success bouncing it out towards the sidelines.
Tyler had a touchdown last week in Pekin's loss against Morton here at Memorial Stadium. He gets the ball once again That time, he doesn't get anywhere. And Joey, it's kind of surprising to see Pekin continue to go back to the middle because they have not had much success there whatsoever.
Yeah, you've got to think longitude here, not latitude. Latitude's not paying off for either side. See that again. And it's just a testament to that ferocious front four for Canton, keyed by Drew Petty. But that whole unit is aggressive.
Here's the give to Tyler, and he's wrapped up and brought down in the backfield. Huge tackle by Drew Petty, the defensive end, was right there.
Yeah, Drew Petty right on cue, comes up and makes a big play in the backfield. Drew Petty entered tonight with 9 tackles for loss on the season and 6 sacks. I believe that's the first one he's registered tonight, making 10 on the season.
Dragons are going to go for it on 4th and 8. Van Ness under center. He's going to throw the jump ball looking for Houston, and he overthrew him. And the Little Giants will take over deep in their own territory, but now they've got momentum thanks to the defense.
And I like that play call from Pekin there. Canton's defense held, forced the receiver out. You know, it was a tough pass for Van Ness. And I like that play call for Pekin. I'm not surprised to see that play call from Pekin. They've played 2 games. Scores of 28-21 and 42-28. Perfect touchdown scores both weeks.
Oldfield, after the Little Giants take over, gets stood up past the sticks. But the junior picked up a gain of 4.
Again, focusing it back to Canton here. That's a lot of momentum. You know, Drew Petty and company step up and make some big plays. And I would expect, you know, I kind of went back to this for Pekin a moment ago, expected them to mount kind of a slow and methodical drive. I think that's what you need if you're Canton here. Run some time off the clock, cross the 50-yard line, and just see if you can get some positive things going here.
About 5 minutes remain in this first quarter. The give to Stein. He plows through a couple of guys on the defensive line. Gets a little bit closer to the sticks. It's going to be 3rd and short for the Little Giants.
I want to update something we talked about earlier. Colton Hess, we saw him get battered around. He's back in the game right now, lining up in the slot. And I would, you know, they were backing off him a little bit there. And I think they're going to bring that same look here. So keep an eye on number 2 in that slot. See if they don't go to Colton Hess.
Right next to Jake Miller, the tight end. They go to the other end, and the pass is deflected off the hands of Dylan Watts, the sophomore. Watts stepping up into a starting role this week in place of Turner Plummer, who is in quarantine. So the Little Giants fighting through some COVID adversity, and they'll have to likely send it away again here as they have not been able to really move the ball much. Pekin doesn't have anybody back to return the punt as Oldfield boots it away. Dragons are just going to let it bounce. It bounces off the hands of Colton Hess.
Good to see Hess back in the game, by the way, and Canton just blowing up that stat we talked about at the top of the show. Only 2 punts all season. They punted 3 times tonight.
There goes that storyline.
Yeah, right out the window. And it's a testament to the Pekin defense. They are suffocating. They aren't allowing Canton many open looks. Canton's trying to go outside to that sideline, and Pekin's just shutting it off. Wouldn't be surprised to see him work the middle of the field next time they're out, but Pekin is going to get a turn first. I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of more of those quarterback design runs for Ness, but they've got to go east-west, Larry, not north-south.
Not much yardage for either side in this one. Dragons with 20 total yards as the give to Kanye Tyler. Excuse me, that's Tanner Sprecher. Results in a gain of 3. And Sprecher, Joey, is another piece of that dynamic Pekin run threat that involves 2 sophomores. We talk a lot about Kanye Tyler, but Tanner Sprecher, also a lot of young talent for this Dragon squad. Bright future there. Looked like a little miscommunication on the incomplete pass. Van Ness once again looking for Levi Burke. He's looked for him twice, neither of which have been complete.
And going back to that point you made a moment ago, Sprecher and Tyler, you know, call it out one way, pretty much got a 50-50 chance. Tyler gets a couple more carries, but they were Pekin's 2 touchdown rushers last week against Morton. So, you know, you call it out, you got a pretty good chance of being right. Sprecher or Tyler are both big parts of the Pekin offense.
3rd and manageable. Van Ness is going to look over the middle of the field, and he finds Caleb Houston. Brought down past the 35-yard line, and the passing game comes to life for the Dragons. They're going to go without a huddle.
And Houston looked like a simple in route across the middle of the field, was able to find the soft spot and gets the first down. And Pekin not going overly quick, but to the line quickly. They're going to try to keep it moving.
Nobody in the backfield with Van Ness. He's going to look long. Lots of contact, but a catch. Drake Hawkins into the end zone for the touchdown. We'll see what the flag is, though. Flag down in the end zone. This one could be coming back. Joey, a lot of contact right around the goal line. This call could go either way.
Pekin thinks they have it for the time being. I agree, Larry. That was a physical kind of jump ball situation, but it looks like it's going to stand.
Pass interference on the defense. So despite the contact, an impressive touchdown grab for Drake Hawkins. And the Dragons are out in front 6-zip, extra point pending. Scotty Jordan on the hold. And Logan Buck getting ready to boot it. And he does so through the uprights and good. So it's 7-0 Dragons. And Joey, you got to figure that a good start is really something that you wanted if you're Pekin coming into this one at 0-2. You need to win today to have that possibility of a third consecutive winning season stay alive.
That's exactly right. And I think to run the score up a little bit if you're Pekin early, that's going to work in their favor. Canton has also played Morton thus far. They won that game in week 1, 26-13, whereas there were a lot of points scored when Pekin and Morton played last week. So Pekin's got to get that score up. Canton did score 35 points against East Peoria a week ago, but East Peoria not quite at the level that some of the top schools in the Mid-Illini Conference are at, so maybe a little misleading there. Pekin's got to keep scoring points, and they've got to force Canton's defense to keep making plays.
It's a 4-play, 50-yard drive, ending with Van Ness finding Drake Hawkins in the end zone.
Go forth and Stein, backbeat for the Little Giants.
Kickoff gets moved up due to the penalty, and Logan Buck drives it through the end zone for a touchback.
Point I want to make on Logan Buck real quick. When we saw Pekin week 1 against Dunlap, Logan Buck was a perfect 3 for 3 on extra points. Of course, I don't have stats available from the Morton game last week, but being that Pekin scored 28 points, you figure that Buck was probably pretty good from short range in that one as well. So if it should come down to it, Logan Buck's an option down there. As you work it towards the end zone. Of course, maybe that might be something to consider later on in the game, but if it's close, Logan Buck could be a player we go back to later as perhaps the most important player in the game. Also a big part of the Pekin offense.
We saw him really light it up in our week 1 game of the week, Pekin and Dunlap. Buck scored 2 touchdowns. Nick Oldfield and the Canton offense getting things started with a shot downfield and a catch by Lucas Goforth.
And the offense will go forth indeed, and that's the first big connection we've seen Oldfield complete tonight. Lucas Goforth's a player. He's going to be all over the field, as we mentioned at the top of the show. We'll see him in the backfield a little bit, but primarily as a receiver. He's a player that can make a big impact on this game. Did it right there with a beautiful route to the outside.
Lucas Goforth was one of the leading receivers in terms of yards last season for this Little Giants squad. Of course, a formidable threat this season as well. There he is again, and that time he can't hang on.
Yeah, Canton, a lot of times tonight, they've worked it towards the shorter side of the field, whatever hash mark they're on. They'll kind of work it towards that side. They had 3 options in towards us on the near side. Didn't go towards any of them, and that Pekin defense, they weren't quite on them like we've seen Canton bring a lot of that one-on-one pressure tonight. Pekin not really showing that. Pay attention on your screen to this near side. That's where Goforth lines up.
As well as Hess. Here's the handoff to Callie Stein. Makes a move and is wrapped up. Kanye Tyler, the sophomore, not afraid to bang bodies with the senior.
Being upended by
got a little bit
number
there,
2,
and every yard's going
Kanye
to count. So
Tyler.
here we've got this third and kind of long situation. You know, we'll see if they give Goforth that wiggle room. He had about 10 yards of separation on that last play. I think maybe you look for a quick bubble screen or a quick curl, even a quick slant inside, put it in the hands of your star wide receiver. I think that's a great way to make something happen here on third down with Goforth or whoever they give separation to, and there is that separation on the near side.
Little Giants have struggled to get the ball into the hands of their playmakers. They swing it out to Goforth, and the screen pass is lit up. Goforth was tackled for a loss, and now it becomes 4th and long, and the Little Giants will be forced to punt for the 3rd time today after entering this game with only 2 punts on the season.
And I like the idea of a little screen pass there, a little kind of shifty deal. Evidently, Pekin's coordinators did as well. They're in the booth right next to us. They must be listening in because they brought a nice defensive package for it.
There's the punt by Oldfield. It was low, but it gets the job done, Joey. And Pekin hasn't even been sending guys back to return. They've been ready for the fake. And there, it really doesn't matter as the ball is downed just short of the 30-yard line.
They're ready for the fake, and I think they're ready for the block as well. You know, when you've got these low, kind of wobbly punts, it's easy, or I say easy, but easier to get up there at the line of scrimmage, get a hand up there and bat them down. So that could be a special team storyline that we, again, come back to as this one moves through. But you got to watch the fake, too, of course.
Van Ness and company take over on their own 32, and here's Kanye Tyler. Tyler to the outside, dragged down from behind, but that'll be enough for a Dragons first down.
There's Kanye Tyler. Pekin's offense has really existed thus far, Larry, in the form of the big play. They haven't had a lot of those medium gains. I call that a medium gain, but he gained a good amount there. You'll need those as the evening goes along.
There's another give to Tyler, this time up the middle, spins through a tackle. He's down right at the 50-yard line. Gain of 6, and Tyler continues to roll.
And that may be the first time, and if it's not the first time, it's the second or third time. But we haven't seen often tonight a play right up the middle work like that. So the Pekin offensive line starting to gel a little bit. They're starting to open up a little bit up front for Tyler. Only a 6-yard gain, but based on the plays that Drew Petty and the Canton defensive front have made so far tonight, I think you'll take that.
2nd and 3. Back to Tyler. Gets close to the sticks, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
Yeah, we'll have to see where they measure that. But I'm with you. I think he's just a little bit short.
Kanye Tyler on the carry. The stop, Jake Miller.
And it will be 3rd and short. So I think you go right back to Tyler up the gut here. He's made a couple of plays. He's gotten some little gainers. I ride the wave.
There he is in the backfield once more. Van Ness is going to call an audible, go under center, and take the QB sneak past the 45-yard line to move the chains for Pekin.
And 1A and 1B, I like the idea of going right back up the middle, and an easy way to do that is the quarterback keeper. Van Ness has proven tonight that he's a physical kind of quarterback that can exist in a lot of ways. He's made big throws, but he's also made two or tried to make some big runs, and a nice little short gain right there for the first down.
Nobody in the backfield with him, and now the give to Tyler, the end around. Finds some space outside. Makes it all the way to the chains. And he'll move him once more, Joey. That's a great play call for the Dragons because it always seems to work because of Tyler's explosivity.
Yeah, he can
explosiveness, I should say.
Explosive.
Making up words here.
He's an explosive runner. No, you're exactly right. And going laterally, that's where he's had the most success. And this has been a great drive for the Dragons. And unlike a drive we've seen from them tonight, they're moving the ball consistently up the field. They've had a couple of big plays, but not that one really big chunk play. They've been moving consistently.
There's the give. It's Tanner Sprecher up the middle.
We have a flag on the play.
And a flag is thrown. We'll see who the call is on. Officials get together to discuss. It'll be holding on the Dragons, so this one's coming back. About 9 seconds remain in the first half. Those seconds will tick off here shortly.
They will wind. We'll flip the fields in a minute, but it'll be easy to do with the ball around midfield.
Dragons get a play in before the end of the quarter. Van Ness overthrows Logan Buck. And that's how the first frame ends. Dragons on top 7-0 over the Canton Little Giants thanks to a Drake Hawkins touchdown reception. We take this break to remind you that tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. For all your insurance needs, call 309-347-3115. It's Zach Butler, your good neighbor in Pekin. And by Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Visit UfteringPekin.com. We thank Zach Butler and Uftring for their consistent support of Clutch Sports Media this year. Really a big part of what we've done in basketball season and football season.
Want to throw in a quick word for Uftring, not necessarily Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, but I had to have a little work done, as you know, in the body shop at Uftring Weston this week. Just want to thank those guys. They did a great job. Repair as good as new, very easy to work with, a pleasurable experience from something that very well could not have been a pleasurable experience. So just want to thank those guys and the whole crew at Uftring. They've been a great sponsor all season long, and glad to have them aboard tonight and hopefully next week and the week after and the weeks to follow.
Friends of Clutch Sports Media, needless to say. So as we enter to the second quarter, it'll be 3rd and long for Pekin. Off the incomplete pass from Van Ness. He's all by himself in the backfield again. Was looking out wide. Chased out of the pocket. Now he's got to run with it. And he's lit up from two sides. Looked like a little helmet-to-helmet contact, Joey, and Van Ness is down.
Yeah, that did not look good, and they're going to blow it dead and take a look at Van Ness. And first and foremost, we hope Wyatt Van Ness is okay. I was looking right down at that, and it looked like his head moved down a little bit, you know, maybe something to do with the neck. I think he's going to come out of play and sit out and go through the proper protocols. That did not look good. Not an intentional hit, not a dirty hit, I didn't believe. But still, you know, that's never the kind of play you want to see on the gridiron, and Van Ness will come out.
Lucas Goforth was in there on the tackle. And now Goforth will go back to return as Brody Keene is set to boot it away. It's a high punt. It's going to get knocked down by the wind. So short. Just about 10 yards, if that, Joey.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of short punts tonight. I think that's probably the shortest Pekin punt we've seen. And you mentioned the wind. I'll mention the sun real quick. The sun is about halfway between where it was when the evening started and where we will ultimately end. Maybe a little north of halfway, but it still could pose a problem for our returners and some of our special teams players tonight, even receivers. It's very bright behind the far end zone. We'll see what Canton can do.
Oldfield is going to look long for Goforth, and he has his man, makes a sliding catch past the 50-yard line.
Lucas Goforth looking like a base runner. Opening day yesterday, you know, it's baseball season in America, and Goforth with a nice slide as he brought that one in, the mark of a composed receiver. If he had had a little more on the pass, maybe he could have taken that down and done something with it, but Goforth was wide open. I mean, there were no Dragons around him, so he was able to adjust and make a nice reception. And Lucas Goforth has been probably the offensive player of the game for Canton thus far, along with Oldfield. They've connected a couple of times.
Goforth at the top of your screen. Give to Stein, making moves through the defense, and is brought down at the 40.
You see Stein there kept going even after some contact. Not the most remarkable run we'll see, we've ever seen, or that we'll see tonight. We have a Pekin Dragon down, so we'll pause for that. But one more note on Callie Stein. I mean, he kept going after contact there and got a nice little pickup even after he was hit. Very physical runner, very hard to bring down. And can't quite see who's down for Pekin there, Larry. Maybe you could help me out, but
Put your hands together for Mason Vickery.
Mason Vickery.
Yep, Mason Vickery, number 33. He's going to walk off largely under his own power there, so certainly hope he's okay.
Linebacker for the Dragons. One of the featured players on this defensive unit that Canton has just not been able to crack so far today.
We'll update on another injury we saw a moment ago. Wyatt Van Ness is down on the sidelines with his helmet on, so would expect him in all likelihood to come back in for the Dragons tonight.
2nd and 4. Stein once again, this time not as successful.
Yeah, and you never like to have it come from an injury, but that little break did give the Pekin defense some time to take a breather, maybe readjust. Canton had rattled off a couple of big plays, the nice run from Stein, and then, of course, the big reception from Goforth that preceded that. So you use that opportunity as a little break, you put your hands on your hips, you take some deep breaths and just kind of resettle. So out of that break, the Dragons have a 3rd and short here. I would expect Canton to maybe go with Callie Stein again, have him power through. But based on the special teams struggles that we've seen from both teams tonight, maybe you want to come out and pass and catch the defense napping with a big play.
Oldfield is going to step back to pass, looking for the corner. He spins past the chains. 1st down, Canton.
Yeah, and they drop back. Oldfield drop back, that is, and showed pass. Looked like a little bit of a draw play. He was able to draw the defense in and bounce it out to the outside.
Joey, he's certainly a formidable threat, not only on the pass, but on that draw play. And if anybody tuned into the news last week, they perhaps saw a highlight of a running touchdown from Oldfield on the draw play. So he can get it done not only through the air, but on the ground. Looking to get it done through the air, and he overthrows his tight end, Jake Miller.
We've seen that a couple of times tonight. Just Oldfield a little off on some passes. Miller might have gotten a hand on that. I'd have to go back and see it. In any case, it was just a little bit over his head, and that has opened up a couple of doors for the Pekin defense to get in there and camp under one and come away with the interception. Hasn't happened yet. We haven't seen a turnover, but I'm Pekin. I think I'm close. They've forced a couple errant passes. They've been in good spots. Might only be a matter of time before we see that first interception or even a forced fumble.
No turnovers yet in this game, but Joe, you make a good point. A lot of close calls. 2nd and 10. Give outside. Some space for LaShawn Wallace and a 1st down.
46. LaShawn Wallace on the stop for the Dragons, Drake Hawkins.
Nice gain from Wallace. First time we've called his name this evening. And how about that stop from Hawkins? Got in there. That was Drake Hawkins, number 39 in red. Stayed with it. Wallace almost shook him off, almost kept going to pay dirt, but Hawkins was able to stay with it and kind of wrap him up. He stuck with the legs even as Wallace was starting to run past. So Drake Hawkins with a play that might go overlooked by some, but that could be big if Pekin can step up and not break last couple plays of this drive.
Hawkins has had a big effect on this game, has the lone touchdown, has Pekin up 7-0. Fake handoff by Oldfield, looking for the sideline, hit by Tyler before he bounces out of bounds.
And Tyler coming in with a big hit there to force him out of bounds.
Nick Oldfield.
But this drive is successful so far for Canton. They're starting to take some time off the clock and keep the ball moving down the field.
Gain of 4 yards on the play, 2nd down and 6.
Joey, this is really Canton's first successful drive that we've really seen so far today. They move closer to the red zone. Oldfield over the middle, dangerous throw, and it's picked off. It's Kanye Tyler, and he's wrapped up past the 20-yard line.
And there it is, the big play the Dragons were looking for, and who else but Kanye Tyler. Name we'll call a lot on the offensive side of the ball tonight. Steps up, and Larry, that one looked like it was thrown right into the breadbasket. He was already in motion and was able to get a little bit after the interception, big for getting the ball cleared out and giving the Dragons a little bit of space to work with. What a play from Tyler.
Tyler getting it done on both sides. Another player for Pekin that plays both ways and does it well. Joey, just when we thought things were looking a little better for Canton, things swing back with the Dragons. Van Ness back in the game, and he's going to step up and throw long, looking for Buck. And that one's nearly picked off by Goforth. Good coverage from the senior.
Yeah, and just like we talked about with Tyler a moment ago, Goforth's a player that can make plays on both sides of the ball. Of course, Goforth has had a lot of success on the offensive side of the ball, pardon me there, but that's the best way for Canton to answer the interception is by forcing a turnover of their own. And we'll see what defense they come out aligned in. You know, they've got a 3-man front and 3 linebackers behind.
As he give up the middle. Formidable gain for Tanner Sprecher.
You need to report to your vehicle.
Sprecher, as we mentioned earlier, one of 2 touchdown rushers for Pekin last week. He'll be a big part of the offense, and Tyler's going to keep it going, but, you know, they're going to give him a little bit of a break here after the big interception.
Sprecher again to the outside, stays in bounds, and is bumped out well past the chains.
Number 7, Tanner Sprecher.
Sprecher, Joey, a little bit of a different style of a runner than Kanye Tyler, so it gives Canton's defense a little bit of a different look to handle.
And Tyler really handled the brunt of the carries for Pekin through the early portion of this game. So now as we start to move into these middle stages, into the middle of the second quarter and into the third quarter, I'm sure Sprecher, as you said, is going to catch that Canton defense off guard, plays a little bit different. We saw him with a nice lateral run right there.
There's Sprecher again. Dragons keep feeding the hot hand, and that time he's knocked down after a short gain.
Fun little tie-up there on the near side of the field that I was watching. Looked like Caleb Houston going at it with Canton's Brady Smith. Referee says, no more of that, keep it clean. But we've seen this Pekin team, Larry. We saw it against Dunlap. They're a physical team that's going to play with a lot of emotion.
Oh, they certainly are. Saw a lot of flags and even an ejection in that Week 1 matchup. How about Kanye Tyler? A magician-like move, somehow slipping out of the grasp of the defense. Gets him right near the chains. It's going to be 3rd and short.
Yeah, you saw, and I couldn't make out who that Canton defender was, but it had a big handful of jersey, and Tyler was spinning around, and the referee will pause the action here to tuck Tyler's jersey back in. We'll actually have a called timeout, but Kanye Tyler went through the washing machine, went through the spin cycle, stayed on his feet, and got something out of nothing. Incredible run.
Just a little bit of what we've seen from Kanye Tyler all season long as we take this break to remind you that tonight's coverage is brought to you by Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. For all your insurance needs, call 309-347-3115 or visit sfbutler.com. It's Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. And by Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Visit UfteringPekin.com. We thank all our sponsors all season long for their continued support of Clutch Sports Media, and we thank you for joining us for our Game of the Week on CSM. We do want to make a clarification. For a while, our scoreboard read that Pekin was ahead 7-0. And on the touchdown earlier, a Drake Hawkins touchdown reception with 3:38 remaining in the first quarter, the extra point was missed. We thought it was made, but it was missed. And so it is just 6-0 Pekin. The Dragons look like they're going to move the chains on Canton's accord. So we get an offsides call against the Little Giants.
Got a couple of Jay Feelies up here in the booth because I saw what you saw. I thought it was knocked in too, and Evan and John Michael, Evan our producer and John Michael our statistician, must have missed it as well. So how about that? But
happens to the best of us. I'll break out the binoculars for the next one. Here's the give to Drake Hawkins. Looking to turn the corner, and he can't. A huge hit delivered by Bryce Walton in the backfield.
Well, and right after that extra point, I remarked on the impact that Logan Buck and the ability to get those short-range field goals could have later in this game, and I still believe that to be true, but it ties into the special team struggles that we've talked about all evening long. If Canton's defense can step up here and make a couple of more plays, they're going to force Pekin to punt from midfield, and I don't know if Pekin would want to punt.
Van Ness looks for Buck, and he's lit up. Simultaneous contact as the ball arrived. Goforth lowered the hammer.
And we could hear that one from up here. Luckily, everybody's okay. Buck nearly took a shot right there and did take a shot. Luckily, it looked like a glancing blow. But it goes back to what I mentioned a moment ago now. 3rd down and 12. You know, if I'm Pekin here, I might see this as 4-down territory. You're across the 50-yard line. I think if you can get 5, 6, 7 yards here, that sets you up for a gamble on 4th down, but I think you take that gamble.
Van Ness once again rolls out of the pocket, looking for an option. Chase from behind. The pass is incomplete. Looking for Caleb Houston. One of Van Ness' favorite targets so far today, and it does not look like the Dragons will take that gamble, Joey.
No, and that's smart. You know, I think you want to split that in half and take that gamble on 4th and medium, 4th and short. 4th and 12 from about midfield. The right call, the responsible call, is to punt, and they will at least show that they will do that here. And they wanted the 1st down on that. They didn't want to split that in half. Houston slid down, and where he was at was right about where that 1st down marker was.
Goforth is the returner. The punter again is Keene. It's popped up. Takes a Dragons bounce and will be down at the 17-yard line. So, Joey, if you're the Little Giants, you're coming off a drive a few moments ago that looked promising, ended with an interception. How do you come out here?
I think you want to take as much time off the clock as you can. Run it, you know, come out and kind of set the tone. Not too early to start thinking about that second half kickoff. It is Pekin's ball coming out of the gates. And if you're Canton, you don't score here. You give the ball back to Pekin. They go down and score. Then they have the chance to make it perhaps a 3-score game or at least a 2-score game, you know, sort of depending on how it all plays out.
Oldfield in some trouble, makes his way out of it, and doesn't lose any yardage. An impressive effort by the junior quarterback to get back to the sticks. Looks like it'll be 2nd and 10.
And importantly there for Canton is that the clock keeps running, and I think that you're going to see some of those play calls. Maybe you come out with a couple of passes just trying to move the ball down the field, but this drive started with about 6 minutes left. If you can run 4.5 minutes off and in with points, that's a great drive.
Oldfield out of the pocket, finds Goforth, tries to slip a tackle, and he cannot. He's wrapped up by Drake Hawkins.
Now, conversely, if you're Pekin and you step up and make a stop here, then I would expect that they would bring a little bit of pressure on Oldfield and on that backfield, you know, force them to make a play, get rid of the ball, get a pass off, because I think it's a passing situation. That's a great defensive stand. And you're going to get the ball back with a short field in all likelihood, because I think Canton would be forced to punt. So there's a lot that rides on this 3rd down.
It is 3rd down. The officials are having some trouble with the chain gang. The sign read 4th, and it looks like the sign is broken of some sorts. Well, Joey, I just watched it skip from 2 to 4.
Yeah.
I'm a little confused. Wonder what's going on there, but no less. It's 3rd and 5. Oldfield in the backfield with Stein. Rolls right, has a man. Goforth past the chains, and he's brought down at the 30.
And that was a great play call from Nick Wright and the Canton offense there. You want to pass. You want to make sure that you're running a play designed to get you that 1st down, and just past the sticks was Goforth.
Canton looking to remain undefeated in this shortened IHSA football season, 2-0 in Mid-Illini Conference play. Pekin looking for its first win. Joey, you mentioned head coach Nick Wright in his first season at Canton, a Canton alum. He's coaching with his dad on the sidelines. His father, Chuck, was the coach at Canton for 5 seasons in the mid-2000s, and now he's back on the sideline as an assistant. Stein dives forward for a gain of 4. But I talked to Nick Wright about that, and he said it's a little bit different of a dynamic when your dad is the one calling the shots your entire life, and now the son is the one calling the shots on the sidelines. But he says that, you know, both of them, they like to throw the ball on offense. They have generally the same beliefs on offense, so they've figured it out nicely, and it has worked very well for the Little Giants this season. Here's the keeper from Oldfield, and that'll move the chains again.
Certainly hasn't. You know, it's an exciting brand of football to watch. I always like watching these high school teams that come out and do toss the pigskin around a little bit. We see so many teams over the course of a season, a regular season at least, that are really kind of ground and pound oriented, I should say. They come out and they run. They will only throw 4 or 5 times a game, depending on absolute necessity. So it is nice to see this Canton offense. They've got that nice balance. We've seen a lot of runs, but we've also seen a lot of passes.
Ball on the 44. Oldfield underthrows. He was looking for Colton Hess.
Colton Hess has had a very physical game. Took a beating earlier. Not for a few plays, but he's been back in for a little while now. Second down and long with a stopped clock.
3 minutes remain in the opening half. Pekin ahead on a Drake Hawkins touchdown reception. Hauled it in with 3:38 remaining in the first quarter. Pekin missed the extra point. That's our only score thus far. Flag is down.
And we have a flag.
Canton is pointing towards Pekin. And it will go the other way. In fact, a false start called on the Little Giants.
That pointing looked like a last-ditch effort to try and defer blame. That's a big penalty. Sets you up for second and even longer. And I know I sound like a broken record, but if I'm Pekin, you know, I do bring a little pressure here. Canton could go either way with a run or pass, but either way, I'm run blitzing or I'm coming off the edges and trying to make Oldfield get rid of it. And I'm bringing my defensive backs off a little bit. Make sure you don't give up the big play down the field.
2nd and 15. Oldfield split out of the pocket, as he so often is, and he's going to run with it. He's got space. Gets past the man at the 45 and wrapped up at the 40 by Kanye Tyler. But there we see the wheels on Nick Oldfield.
Yeah, the far side tackles collapsed in. Pekin did bring a little bit of pressure, but it was from the opposite end. The Canton offensive line really blocking towards that near side. They opened up a nice little gap for Oldfield, but Oldfield had to create a lot himself there as he got into the open field. Did a great job of cranking it the other way and kept moving forward, even as he was moving laterally there. Tough to do.
That's a little bit of credit to Coach Wright's play calling, Joey, because so often when Oldfield runs out of the pocket, that doesn't mean he's going to run. So often he's thrown it out of that spot today. The give on the jet sweep to go forth, and Pekin has none of it. Drake Hawkins, another tackle.
And one play later, there is that pressure. Pekin was able to come in through the offensive line quickly. They blew that up and got in there into the backfield. Now, Canton, Larry, by and large, they've done a great job of what I thought they would do, and that's run down the clock. We've only got about 2 minutes left in the half, and this drive started around the 6-minute mark. So Canton has done a great job of controlling the tempo here. Second and very long to go. Wouldn't be surprised to see them look over the middle of the field, look towards the corners maybe on some sort of pass to try and half that yardage. Set yourself up for a 3rd and manageable, but they've controlled the tempo well. Pekin doesn't have a very big opportunity after this drive.
Oldfield in trouble. Finds Stein, and he's tripped up in the field of play, so Pekin's defense continues to have its way on this set of downs. It'll be 3rd and long, Joey, and Canton will take a timeout. We'll break it down for you in a moment, but we take this break to remind you that tonight's coverage is brought to you by Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. Call 309-347-3115 or visit sfbutler.com for all your insurance needs. It's Zach Butler State Farm. And by Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Visit uftringpekin.com. Thanks to Uftring and Zach Butler. Joey, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure I'm hearing the cheerleaders chant, "Wash your hands," right now. I don't know if
it's a great message in this day and age.
I don't know if the fans at home can hear that, but I can honestly say that's a first.
Yeah, it's 2021, right? The ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, probably my new favorite line. But I'm thinking here, if I'm Canton, coming out of the timeout, and I'll make this quick, I'm looking over the middle of the field. I'm looking to pass it, kind of half this yardage, but keep it in play, keep that clock moving, and kind of go for an all-or-nothing situation on 4th down.
Pekin will receive the second half kickoff, which makes this possession all the more critical. Here's Goforth, out wide, needs some blockers and doesn't have any. It'll be 4th and about 10. Joey, if you're the Little Giants, I think you have very little doubt in going for this here.
And I think that's exactly what the mentality was. They didn't quite get as many as I think they would have liked on that play. Of course, that goes without saying. You probably want to replay it in a touchdown, but they're going to keep the clock moving. They've done a great job of controlling the tempo. Win, lose, or draw here. Pekin, as I kind of alluded to earlier, they're not going to have an opportunity to do much when this drive ends. They're going to get the ball back with 30 seconds left if they can come up with a stop here.
Canton has 1 timeout remaining. Oldfield. Passes tipped and falls harmlessly to the turf. Oldfield was looking for Goforth, and the Little Giants turn it over on downs. And Joey, now the question turns over to the Dragons. Do you run the ball a few times here and head to the locker room content knowing that you'll get the ball after 33 seconds here, or do you go for the score?
Well, unlike my Madden play calling, I've advocated for both teams to be very conservative, and it's worked. If I'm Pekin, I absolutely come out, run the ball a couple of times. I don't think the risk of going for it here is worth the reward of a touchdown, because you don't want to open that door for Canton to take the lead going into the half.
Van Ness is going to sling it down the sideline, looking for Houston, and he can't haul it in. Either way, he was out of bounds.
And Pekin clearly disagrees with me, but I like the idea then of taking one chance early, and Houston was open, and that play was very nearly successful. But it's the chess match of football, because I like how Canton played that. They didn't score, but they didn't shoot themselves in the foot. They weren't any worse off when that drive ended than they were when they started. And they could still then, with a stop out of the halftime locker room, even put themselves in position to take the lead. But Pekin, they're going to be aggressive here, it looks like.
Fake give to Tyler. This time Houston hauls it in, and he's brought down before he can get out of bounds. Or excuse me, yes, he was brought down before he got out of bounds, but Pekin takes a timeout with 20 seconds remaining in this second quarter.
So they're right around midfield, and they've got an opportunity. This is where we could see Logan Buck maybe attempt a field goal, sort of depending on where the Dragons can move the ball, because at this point it's not a matter of what they'll do. It's how they'll do it. They're going to be aggressive. They're going to try to take a stab at that end zone. And, I advocated for them to be conservative a moment ago. Now I think I like the idea of being aggressive. You've gotten that play.
Man.
I'm going to flip a little bit here.
Wishy-washy, Joey, right.
Just because they had that nice play that set up the first down, and, they've kind of showed their hand here. So I would expect Van Ness to drop back, and he's going to look for his receivers deep. If I'm Canton, I'm coming out. I'm giving them a little separation off the line of scrimmage, a little wiggle room to work with. Give them about 5 or 10 yards, but make sure they're not getting more than 10, 15 yards of play. Bend, don't break, and force Logan Buck, ostensibly the Pekin kicker, to come out and maybe attempt a long field goal to end this half. Or come up with a stop and of course, force some incompletions and get out of here.
For now, Logan Buck spread out wide. Van Ness in trouble. Spins out of it. Looks for blockers upfield, and he's going to dance out of bounds at the 45.
Pekin has played this well. Van Ness with the wherewithal to get out of bounds. And if you're Pekin here, the downside to attempting to go for the end zone would be a turnover, of course, in the Pekin score. I think Pekin has done a good job of working it into Canton territory now, to the point where if they turn it over, it functionally serves as a punt, and you're not going to allow the Little Giants to mount a drive of their own with such little time left.
The risk is small. We'll see if Pekin can get the reward, and Van Ness is ripped down in the backfield It's a sack by LaShawn Wallace, the sophomore. And that's how the first half will end. So Pekin presents a formidable threat to end the second quarter, but the Little Giants keep them off the scoreboard. And so the score remains headed to the halftime locker room. Pekin 6, Canton nothing on a Drake Hawkins touchdown reception with 3:38 remaining in the first quarter. Joey, that's been the only score, and that's really credit to both defenses. Bend, don't break.
It has been, yes, bend, don't break, and it's been a defensive battle. Both defenses really digging in, and that was a great sequence to end the half. I know, a lot of our viewers and a lot of football fans today like offense. They like seeing those high-scoring affairs, touchdown after touchdown after field goal after touchdown, that sort of thing. But defense has really dug in to end that half, and we were kind of building to what we thought was a climax. Pekin was trying to drive down the field, and I thought they were going to try to split it up into kind of two plays there, kind of a play to half it and then a play to go to the end zone from the 25 or 20-yard line, or, depending on the leg strength of Buck, maybe a long field goal. But that wasn't the case. Canton's defense was able to step up and come away with the sack, and that was the storyline of the game at the top of the show, Larry, was the defensive front for Canton. And the defensive front for Canton proved itself there. They've proved themselves all evening long. Pekin has had a little bit of success passing the ball. They've had a little bit of success going east-west, but north-south, and I'll say it for the Pekin defense as well, has been largely cut off for both teams. So in the second half, after we take a break, expect to see the field stretched out horizontally, or vertically, I should say, and not so much horizontally.
Before we step aside for our halftime break, we want to remind you that tonight's coverage is brought to you by Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. Call 309-347-3115 or visit sfbutler.com today for all your insurance needs. Thank you to Zach Butler State Farm and by Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, UfteringPekin.com. Joey, any final thoughts before we step aside for a few moments?
Thinking about what I said a moment ago, I would expect to see horizontal offenses and not vertical offenses. I'll correct myself a second time there. It's going to be east to west in the second half, Larry. I think, both defenses are going to go into the halftime locker room and be pretty proud of what that front three, front four, and the linebacking cores have done. So Finesse is going to win this game. The only question is, who is going to win this game? Pekin with a little advantage into the halftime locker room. The first drive when we come back after the break is going to be crucial. Assuming Canton doesn't try any onside kicks, any funny business there, the Dragons are going to have an opportunity to take the first two-score lead of the afternoon, evening, night, whatever time it is. So it's going to be fun to keep an eye on that.
We will begin to find out the answer to that question in about 17 minutes, Joey. Will Canton stay undefeated, or will Pekin finally enter the win column in the 2021 season? Thanks for joining us tonight on ClutchSportsIL.com. We will be back after a short break. Welcome back to Pekin. It's halftime of Clutch Sports Media's Game of the Week between the Pekin Dragons and the Canton Little Giants. Pekin on top of Canton 6-0 thanks to a touchdown reception by Drake Hawkins in the first quarter. Pekin went on to miss the extra point. So, Joey, that touchdown haul by Hawkins, the only score that we've had tonight. Kind of fitting because the defenses have really come out strong.
Yeah, we certainly didn't expect a high-scoring shootout-type game, but I don't know that we expected a score this low. Really, it's played out similarly to our game of the week last week. Washington and Dunlap were kind of in this situation and scoring purgatory, if you will, for two halves or for two quarters before they put it all together in the second half. Washington posted 14 points to down Dunlap, but it's been all defense. We'll take a look at our keys to the game. We'll revisit them in a moment. And we'll revisit them right now, why don't we? Our keys to the game, we talked a lot about defense at the start of the show, and it's been defense. Canton stayed balanced. They've stayed pretty balanced. Of course, they'd like a little more balance on offense, I'm sure, but they've made big plays. Lucas Goforth and company, Colton Hess, Nick Oldfield, they've been involved. They just haven't been able to punch it into the end zone, so we'll see if the Canton offense can get it moving in quarter number 3. The defensive ends, though, for Canton, they've been on it. They've really limited Pekin, especially as Pekin's trying to get it up the middle. They just don't have anything there. The defensive line has overpowered the offensive line. Pekin's been successful when they look towards the sidelines, when they look to do a couple of creative things, but in terms of your typical run up the middle, they've not been able to do a whole lot. Punter not required, our third key for Canton. The punter has been required. They've punted quite a bit tonight. Before the game, they had only punted twice all season. In 2 games, they've punted 4 or 5 times tonight. Pekin's defense has stood in and done a marvelous job, as has Canton's defense. But Pekin, of course, has the touchdown that they were able to post on that pass earlier. They've stayed the course. They have shored up the defense. They gave up 42 points to Morton last week, and as you see at the bottom of your screen, as we talked about, not allowed Canton to score yet tonight. The defenses look good. They were close early in the game to forcing turnovers. They were right on some passes. The defensive backs in particular were aggressive and got after the wide receivers, played a very physical brand of football, and then later on they did force a turnover. They forced a big interception. No unforced errors when we saw Pekin in week 1 against Dunlap. They were a little undisciplined, and you'd expect that for week 1. And, of course, everything to talk about with the COVID-19 pandemic. So you'd expect those mistakes in week 1, but they haven't made a lot of unforced errors tonight. We haven't seen a lot of penalties on either side, in all fairness. And Pekin has maybe you could call the missed extra point an unforced error, but, extra point's not automatic, so I don't even think you could hold that against them. They've played a good game. Both teams would like to have a little more on offense, and we'll take a look at those stats in just a second. But all told, I think our keys to the game, with the exception of the punter, pretty good. Good
job, Joey Wright. That's the type of analysis that we're looking for as we take a look at some of our halftime stats. First for the visitors, Canton, as you see them stretching it out before we get underway in half number 2. Canton has 112 total yards. Nick Oldfield, the quarterback, is 8 for 17 and has thrown for 67 yards and has run for 48. So we see that dual threat there. Cauley Stein has 13 yards on 6 carries, and Lucas Goforth has 6 receptions for 60 yards. So if you have him in your PPR Mid-Illini Conference Fantasy Football League, you're probably pretty happy with that performance. As for Pekin, they've got 140 total yards of offense, led by Wyatt Van Ness, who's passed 4 for 12 for 70 yards. Kanye Tyler has 39 yards on the ground on 9 carries. Tanner Sprecher has 18 yards on the ground with 3 carries. And Drake Hawkins has the big catch for Pekin. 1 reception, but of course it was of the touchdown variety. That was 32 yards. And also in the receiving department, Caleb Houston has 2 receptions for 21 yards. So, Joey, we've got about 90 seconds until Pekin receives the second half kickoff. Of those names that we just mentioned, who do you expect to have a big second half?
I would expect a big second half. Well, first of all, from Wyatt Van Ness under center. we saw it last week in Washington. Nick Williams, Washington's quarterback, really stepped up and had a big second quarter, or a big second half, I should say, to lead the Panthers past the Eagles. And he had been a little bit shaky in the first half, but as a quarterback, stayed the course, did exactly what he had to do to lead the Panthers to not the prettiest of wins, but a win nevertheless. So Wyatt Van Ness is going to have to step up for Pekin in this second half. And then I would expect the duo of Tyler and Sprecher, who only have about 60 yards between them, to step up and maybe break off a big one, find the end zone in some form or fashion. As we've talked about at length, they're going to have to get a little creative to do that, but I'd expect that duo for Pekin to step up. So it's Van Ness at quarterback, it's Tyler and Sprecher in the backfield. And then for Canton, Nick Oldfield, much like Wyatt Van Ness, right? The quarterback's got to step up and do what he has to do to lead the team to victory. And he's, as you said a moment ago, 8 of 17 on the evening for 67 yards, 48 yards rushing as well. So, he's been close to connecting a couple of times, whether on a big run or on a big reception. Lucas Goforth has had 6 receptions, as you said, for 60 yards. So I would expect Oldfield to step up. You average out Goforth's receiving, though, 6 for 60. It's averaging exactly 10 yards per reception. Maybe look for him to stretch one out and look down the field. Averaging 10 yards per reception. I wouldn't mind trying to hit Lucas Goforth on a big hitter. So see how it all plays out. Canton's defense has to step up and make a stand first. Wouldn't even be shocked. Callie Stein's lining up to kick. Would not even be shocked to see an offensive or an onside kick here.
We'll see what Stein brings to the table. Canton enters this one at 2-0. Pekin at 0-2. Dragons looking to enter the win column. Stein does indeed drive it deep, and it's fielded on the outside. Space, and he's off to the races. Touchdown Pekin to start the second half. It's Chase Frainer.
Oh, we have a flag on the play.
To hear the PA announcer, flag on the play. Joey, it's down near the 45-yard line, so as the crowd roars, we'll see if this one comes back. Looks like maybe a block in the back. Not sure what the signal is here. Sideline warning against Pekin. So it does not matter. The touchdown stands. Dragons up 12-0 with the extra point pending. If you were with us for the first half, you saw Logan Buck miss the extra point that he took in the first quarter. We thought he made it for a good while, but he gets redemption here.
He'll come on in a moment, and that's exactly what you need. Those sorts of plays you can't script. It's hard to draw up that play on that kickoff that was kind of a wobbler, a little squib kick type deal. Chase Frainer with the biggest play we've seen tonight.
Buck drives that one up, and that one is through the uprights, can confirm. So that makes it 13-0 Dragons, making a good bid to break into the win column in the Mid-Illini Conference here in Week 3.
Well, I hate to keep calling for the onside kick, but you've got to watch that opportunity. If you're Canton here, Pekin with a little momentum in a defense that's held strong all evening long, maybe you come out and show that surprise look here, put a little faith in your defense to make a stop around midfield if you don't get it. But otherwise, if you're Canton, you've got to see a similar opportunity here on the kickoff return. You see so many of them in the high school game. It's an easy opportunity to get a great athlete the ball and watch them go. I wouldn't expect Pekin to kick it deep. I think they'd probably get it to a player like Dylan Watts, who is lined up there at the 35-yard line. Maybe they go one row back to the likes of Maddox Graham or that little gaggle. But in any case, good opportunity for Pekin and for Canton as well.
Logan Buck will again kick. Stein and Goforth to return, and it goes all the way back. Will be fielded by Stein, working around some blockers. And he's knocked down at the 20-yard line after a fight.
Well, so they did like to kick it deep, and it worked out. Callie Stein, a very physical runner, and showed that there. Wouldn't be surprised to see Canton come out here first play from scrimmage of the second half with some sort of big hitter drawn up. Of course, they want to be smart. Big thing for Canton here is in this drive with points. You know, don't turn it over. March down the field. However you want to do it, don't turn it over. Keep the ball out of the defense's hands.
The half starts for Canton on the offensive end with a handoff and a big run for Callie Stein. That'll move the chains right away as he gets tripped up at the 35.
And rather than come out and look for the pass, they'll just gash the defense and go right up the middle. Nice game for Callie Stein. And Callie Stein is the kind of running back you want to have facing this deficit. He's a workhorse. You can trust him. He's going to carry the ball a lot. He'll power through and make the big plays.
There he is again, trying to power through the line and dives forward for a gain of 4.
Well, I would say he powered through there. You know, he ran right into that defensive line and kept on going. And he's a dependable running back, Callie Stein is. We saw him last season as well. Make some big plays for the Little Giants.
Second down.
Joey, he makes such a big impact for this Canton team that they shifted their whole game plan around him last week. We'll get to that in a moment. Oldfield rolls, and this time he's going to run and get past the chains for a first down before he gets brought down by Mason Vicari, who's back in the game. We saw him get injured in the first half, but now he is back. Joey, what I wanted to mention, in week 1, Callie Stein was absent for Canton, was not able to play in week 1. In week 2, he was able to play, and as a result, Canton really redrew, I don't want to say redrew their playbook, but redrew the game plan for him. In week 1, Nick Wright told me the Little Giants were about 65-35 pass to run. In week 2, their 35-0 win over East Peoria, they were 70-30 run to pass. This time, it's a give to LaShawn Wallace, and he gets knocked down by Kanye Tyler after another nice chunk of yards.
Well, and you'll hear that phrase, run to set up the pass, so often, and it really works like a charm. You know, if you can come out and show the run and show that you've got those physical backs, whether Wallace or, as we've talked about, Callie Stein predominantly, those physical backs that can come out and go right up the middle and gain a couple yards, eventually you're going to force that defense to swarm the middle, stack the box, really bring a lot of pressure with the defensive front. And when they do that, you can trust your receivers to go after a defensive backs group that's maybe spread a little bit thin.
2nd and 4 forthcoming for the Little Giants. And it's another give. And a big hit by Kanye Tyler. LaShawn Wallace got lit up. 3rd and short.
And I wouldn't be surprised if that is the blueprint for Canton here as they are trying to erase this deficit. And we talk about this deficit. It stands at 2 scores for the first time tonight. Certainly overcomable for any team, let alone a Canton team that's shown a lot of ability. I was looking for the word on offense this season, but I would expect here maybe a little bit. I would say this is a running situation here on 3rd and short. Maybe you give to Stein, Wallace, let them go right up the middle. But eventually, I think they'll get back to that pass, and I think they'll get a big route going down the sideline. Probably not here.
There's the give to Stein, keeping the legs moving. Joey, he was close, but I think he'll be marked short. 4th and about 1 coming up, and I think if you're the Little Giants, you really want to go for it here because if you can move the chains and eventually score, that's a great way to respond with to the kickoff return touchdown that started the second half for Pekin.
I think they'll go for it, and it looks like they will. Over getting the play call right now is Oldfield, and he'll come back into the huddle. You've got to go for this. There's no way to justify punting based on the game Canton has played thus far. You're going to put some trust in your defense if you don't get this, but they are going to go right at this defensive front here on 4th and short. Keep an eye on those front lines.
And Canton will burn a timeout. Nick Wright did not like what he saw. And so the Little Giants will talk it over, and we take this break to remind you that tonight's coverage is brought to you by Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. For all your insurance needs, visit sfbutler.com or give Zach a call at 309-347-3115 today. It's Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. And by Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Visit UftringPekin.com. Thank both our sponsors on this week's presentation of Mid-Illini Conference football on ClutchSportsIL.com, and we thank you all for joining us at home. Joey couldn't ask for a better night of football. Canton looking to remain undefeated. They're 2-0 on the season. Dragons, they're 0-2 after making the playoffs last year, after they lost their first 3 games of the season last year as well. Big fourth down play coming up. Oldfield is going to keep it, and it looks like he got enough to move the chains.
Pushes his way through for the first down.
PA announcer confirms that, so Canton gets new life on the drive.
Yeah, and it's just what we talked about there, Larry. They were going to go up the middle. However they did that, you know, I thought maybe they'd give to Stein or even Wallace and let the offensive line do the work, but a quarterback keeper from Oldfield. I believe that's the second fourth down conversion on that keeper for Oldfield we've seen tonight. I know he's had a couple of those types of plays. Got the job done.
Now he'll run out wide, looking to throw, and he's brought down for a big loss.
Led by number 33, Mason Vickery.
Mason Vickery, the junior, was in on that one. That's a big play.
Yeah, and he didn't even have time to think about getting that ball away.
The ball back to the 50-yard line.
Pekin defensive front, collapsed that line, and they were able to get back there. Oldfield didn't have time to look up the field and survey his options. And a lot of times when Oldfield drops back to pass, that's kind of the set you're going to see. Rarely does he stay in the pocket. He's not quite that type of passer, at least from what we've seen tonight. He rolls out and tries to create something with his legs, kind of looks with the run first, and if he doesn't have that, then he'll survey down the field.
That sack goes for a loss of 8. This time Oldfield is in the pocket. Finds Stein over the middle. He makes a man miss. And he's brought down by Kanye Tyler right after he got back to the original first down marker. So forward progress on that play will make it 3rd and 10.
And a couple of times when Oldfield has dropped back into the pocket, you know, he looks for those short kind of completions. Primarily when he's in the pocket, you've got to figure he's looking for Jake Miller, his star tight end. And this is an interesting situation for Canton here. 3rd and exactly 10. Ball at the 42. I think they're going to go for it on 4th down regardless. Look for them to run a play that's going to get them near the sticks.
Oldfield out of the pocket again. Now he's going to run it. Gets by Vickery, lowers his shoulder. He's going to be near the first down marker.
I think he has
and
enough.
He's past it.
And that was exactly near the first down marker. That'll take the question of what they'll do on 4th down out of the equation. But Larry, something I've noticed in the first half of the 3rd quarter, Pekin's defense is playing physical. I mean, I think they've got an extra level even beyond what we saw in the first half. They're really getting in some big hits, some good physicality, good intensity. And I just don't know that we saw that in the first half. I may have said first quarter, but the first half was, and it's not like they certainly, it's not like they weren't intense. They made some big plays and some big stops, but I just think they found an extra level.
They've certainly come out with an edge here in the second half. But Canton is making progress. Oldfield looking for Goforth, doesn't have him, and he lost the football, and Pekin's on it. Recovered by Dylan Tatlock. That's the 2nd turnover of the evening for the Pekin defense, and that puts an end to another promising Canton drive.
Extra level creates an extra possession. They got back into the backfield there. Oldfield, it's just what we saw a couple plays prior. Didn't have time to look up the field, and you have to credit the efforts of Pekin and Dylan Tatlock getting in there, and Tatlock, the nice scoop. If I'm Pekin, watch for the Dragons to air it out here. Try to keep this momentum going.
They give to Kanye Tyler. Dances through defenders, looking for the outside, and he gets to the sideline, but is tripped up short of the 50, and a flag is down.
Well, they didn't quite crank it up with the passing game, but Kanye Tyler doing what he can, flag pending. Pekin marching it back a little bit right now, and it will be a hold against the Dragons, so a costly penalty there. And if you're Canton, I don't think you could have asked for a better start to this drive, of course. A turnover or a big defensive play notwithstanding. There's an unforced error for the Dragons, and that opens the door. It's going to change the Dragons' whole play calling system and whole method of attack.
And of course, Joey, coaches always talk about the team that makes the least mistakes most often wins. But it's all about capitalizing on opponents' mistakes. And if you can't do that, you're not going to have much of a chance. Can the Little Giants capitalize here? Van Ness somehow recovers and is brought down at the sideline after a nice gain. So it'll be 2nd and short here. So the Dragons make up that yardage.
Yeah, great response.
Moves the ball to the 43-yard line. 2nd down.
You got to watch that Canton front. A lot of times tonight they've brought a 3-man front. Jake Miller, a tight end, linebacker. Looks like he's kind of near that, and he is going to line up on the defensive line. So a 4-man front. Keep an eye on Miller and Petty.
There's the jet sweep, and it's a fake. Van Ness over the middle, past the 45, making men miss before he's brought down past the 40-yard line. Nice quarterback keeper. Looked like a bit of a read option.
And instead, the closest defensive lineman was Gunnar Brophy. That's just elusiveness. You know, that's hard to bring down, and Brophy couldn't get there in time. And this Pekin offense, Larry, absolutely has the tools to run those plays, like read options and even some sweeps and, you know, that little kind of trickery.
This time they'll keep it on the ground with Kanye Tyler. He's got space on the outside, and he's bumped down at the 20. But, Joey, you see how quickly, as soon as he gets the handoff, you blink and he's on the sideline. So quick, so explosive.
Yeah, he's the speedy runner. And, you know, they can throw a little bit at you with Tanner Sprecher, a little bit of a different level. But Kanye Tyler, Pekin's #1 back, has looked the part tonight.
Dragons 2 yards short of the red zone. There's Tanner Sprecher. He takes it to the outside. Past the 20. Looks like he picks up a gain of 4.
On the stop, LaShawn Wallace.
LaShawn Wallace was there to bump him out.
Yeah, and LaShawn Wallace has made a couple of plays on both sides of the ball tonight. He's also gotten some carries for the Dragons. But again, Canton was down on this side of the field a couple of minutes ago, threw an interception. Little Giants defense has an opportunity to make a similar impact here. This drive, far from over, even as Pekin is marching down the field.
There's the give to Kanye Tyler. Makes a man miss, and he's going to go all the way home.
#2, Kanye Tyler. Touchdown.
Have a night, Kanye Tyler.
Now the drive is over. I said it was far from over, and Tyler did not allow the Little Giants defense a chance to get a word in edgewise. And how about that? A 5-play, 64-yard drive for Pekin. They didn't finish those drives, Larry, in the first half, but that is such a big drive here as they now take a 3-possession lead.
Extra point for Logan Buck. Looks like it was tipped, but it does not matter as it floats over the crossbar for the extra point. So Pekin 20, Canton nothing, as the Dragons are well on their way to their first victory of this season. And as Joey, we approach the halfway point. After this game is over, we'll be past the halfway point of the season. You always want to get that first win before. I mean, obviously, we've never dealt with a shortened season like we have in 2021, but if you're the Dragons, a program that's used to recent success, you know, going 3 games without a win to start the season is not really acceptable.
It's not, and the road ahead doesn't get any easier for the Dragons. They're at Washington next week, and then they'll host Metamora and go to East Peoria to end the season. But those next 2 weeks for Pekin, far from easy. This is a good statement if they can hold on for the rest of their season. They'll show the rest of the Mid-Illini Conference that they mean business. Of course, they're 0-2. They're 2 losses to this point. Dunlap in week 1 and Morton week 2. a combined 3 scores, 1 score against the Eagles and 2 scores against the Potters. Not a bad team by any means, just one that hasn't seen things go their way in the first 2 weeks.
Muffed kick. The ball is loose. And it's going to be a fight at the bottom of the pile. We'll just have to wait and see for the officials to untangle it. Looks like Canton fell on it. On the return there.
By the Little Giants, number 25, Bryce Walton.
Bryce Walton. Looked like he fielded the kick, Joey, and then had some trouble with it, but he was able to recover. So a little bit of a scare for the Little Giants before they start the drive. They're spotted at their own 26, and they need to score here. 2 turnovers for this offense. And a bounced pass is incomplete.
Going back to that muffed kick, you know, I would have thought we would have seen those sorts of issues early in this game. The sun was pretty high in the sky when this game started, about 6 o'clock. It's since gone down below the horizon. You see a beautiful sunset behind the far bleachers at Pekin Memorial Stadium, but nevertheless, an unforced error that won't bite Canton. Doesn't make things any easier, you know. Kick return, always a great opportunity to spark some offense. And they're getting to the point, Larry, where, you know, we've talked about slow and methodical drives maybe being the way to go in the early part of this game. But at some point, you know, they've yet to score, and they have to score 3 times, have a chance at tying it. You got to go at some point.
Here's the handoff to Stein. He slips, and it's going to cost him. And it's a strip and a touchdown for the Dragons.
Number 38, Isaac Lawler.
How about the strip and score for Isaac Lawler? Joey, that's just like the game of basketball where you see the ball tipped away, the other team goes on a one-man fast break, and it ends with a slam dunk. It's about as close as you can get for a slam dunk in the game of football.
Isaac Lawler came out of nowhere. What a play for the senior, number 38 in red, a name we haven't called all night long. Stepping up and making a play in front of a big home crowd. His second to last home game in a Pekin Dragons uniform. That unbelievable. Buck will knock the extra point through. And Pekin has stormed out of the gates in this second half. They've done so unconventionally. You know, you had the touchdown run from Kanye Tyler, but you also had that touchdown on the squib kick. You have the strip and score from Lawler. Pekin has cranked it up in areas you wouldn't expect. And that has taken a 6-point lead into a 27-point lead in less than 9 minutes.
And Joey, those last 2 Pekin scores separated by 18 seconds. The Kanye Tyler touchdown run, that was for 18 yards, and now the Isaac Lawler strip and score.
It's like something
I don't know how you come back from this if you're Canton, but go ahead, Joey.
They've got to go, and 18 seconds between scores. That's something you'd see in hockey. I mean, that's something you don't often have the opportunity to see in football, just with how the game is organized, of course. So that's incredible. Kick is away. Canton they've got to stay the course, Larry.
Goforth is wrapped up just beyond the 25-yard line, and Joey, I don't know if stay the course is the right term here, because you want to change course.
You do want to change course, but stay the course in the sense that you can't, you know, it's the old
panic.
Be quick, but don't hurry, exactly. You know, you can't start, you can't try to crank it up to a level you don't have. You've got to play within the confines of your offense and stay true to who you are, stay true to the 2-0 Little Giants as opposed to the down 27-0 Little Giants. You know, you've got to trust your players to make some plays, and you've still got a little bit of time on the clock.
Nick Oldfield finds Jake Miller, and he's pushed forward for a gain of 9. There's a start.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the kind of play that's going to get you back into the game. You mount a couple of those back-to-back, and then maybe you take a chance. Or, you know, it's we say take a chance, but it's the scores on plays that you didn't think you'd score on that mount up over the course of a game and win football games. You know, it's the handoff at the 32-yard line that winds up breaking big for a score. You know, so just stay the course and let your players make plays if you're Nick Wright and Canton.
Oldfield will try to do just that, has plenty of time. Hit Hess in the hands, but the junior can't hang on. So that makes it 3rd and 1.
Brings up 3rd down.
And it goes without saying, but I think we've reached a point where everything is 4-down territory for the Little Giants. But an important thing to note is you've still got some time. You know, you've still got 2:29 left in the 3rd. You know, we're looking at 14:30 left in this game. You've got 2 timeouts.
Oldfield, the give, and the bounce outside. LaShawn Wallace with a nice run to move the sticks. Joe, you make a good point, and I will add that we have seen ferocious Canton comebacks on ClutchSportsIL.com before. Last season, when the Little Giants were fighting for a playoff berth at Dunlap in the second-to-last game of the regular season. They picked up a handful of late scores to lose by just 1 point. They went for 2 at the end of the 4th quarter. They came up short, and that won the game for Dunlap.
A big blocked kick in there as well.
Yes,
was
indeed.
Also big, so you never know.
Oldfield to pass on 1st and 10. And now he's going to look to tuck and run. Tackled at the 45.
For the Little Giants. Leading the stop, number 40
Nice
for
stop
the Dragons,
by Braden Beckham.
Wisely.
Xavier Wisely in as well.
Elizabeth Bloomer, please meet your parents at the concession stand.
Sounds like we've got a lost child here in Pekin, as you might hear on the PA announcement.
Yeah. Hope all is well there. A big crowd on tap, though, here at Pekin Memorial Stadium. We've talked about that this evening.
Almost sounds like normalcy. 2nd and 5. There's Lucas Goforth. He spins down past the 45, so the Little Giants are putting a drive together, Joey, and you got to figure, you know, they can't afford to slow down too much. You want to keep the pace moving here and maybe move into the red zone before the end of the 3rd quarter.
Absolutely, and another thing to consider is that every 1st down does stop the clock for just a little bit, you know, to allow the stakes a chance to get set. So, you know, you've got a couple of built-in stoppages there if you can keep the ball moving.
Oldfield on the screen pass. That's Miller. And Joey, right now we're seeing something that we really haven't seen all night, and that's some rhythm from this Canton offense.
Yeah, it's slow and methodical, and they're moving it up. They're, you know, a couple of gains of 4, 5, 6 yards at a time.
Brings up 2nd down.
Clock does keep running. But maybe you think that this is all to set up a big chunk sort of look for Goforth or another receiver.
Goforth fakes. Now he's going to step up through the pocket and dash with it. Big hit. And a flag flies. I think that's going to be a personal foul on Pekin, Joey. Maybe a little helmet-to-helmet contact, and now we've got an injured Dragon on the play as well. So we will wait and see the result of this, but flags flying, players down. And it looks like Mason Vicari, the 2nd time he's been down tonight. We get helmet-to-helmet contact is the call. So a personal foul on Pekin. Yeah,
and you know, in looking at that, it looked like Oldfield took the shot there, and not quite sure what was the cause of Vicari to go down. I'm not sure if he was in on that play or
put your hands together for Mason
looks like
Vicari.
He's holding his arm or something as he comes off. So certainly hope he's okay, whatever the case may be, and we'll see if he returns to the game. But that was, yeah, and certainly, you know, good to see Oldfield's okay. We've seen a couple of those plays tonight where players just converge at that last second. But this gives Canton a nice opportunity, you know. It marches them closer to the end zone. And if Canton could score here on what we would anticipate being the last play or the second to last play at the very least of the 3rd quarter, that sets them up for a not unheard of possibility of mounting a 3-score comeback in the final frame.
Clock begins to run. Oldfield rolls right. had a man as it falls to the turf. And Colton Hess got sandwiched by 2 red jerseys.
Another big hit. Colton Hess, as we mentioned earlier, has taken a couple of those hits this evening. And it looks like he's heading towards the sideline. And what a game he's had. He stepped up and made a couple of big plays for Canton, despite taking some shots. Maybe not big plays, but he's been involved in a lot of plays. You know, a big part of the offense, and we've seen him elsewhere as well. So hope Colton Hess is okay. As you saw, was able to walk towards the sideline under his own power.
Now Oldfield comes away from the sideline with the play call. Dylan Watts at the top of your screen, spread out wide. Lucas Goforth at the bottom. The pass is to Goforth, scoops it up off the turf, goes down, and was hit after the play was blown dead. Canton was looking for the penalty, but they don't get it. And that marks the end of the third quarter. Pekin scores 3 touchdowns, lighting it up out of the halftime locker room with the 27-point advantage. And we take this break to remind you that tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. Call 309-347-3115 for all your insurance needs, or visit sfbutler.com. It's Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. And Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Visit UfteringPekin.com today. Joey, you got to say it's do or die time for the Little Giants. If they don't score here, I really don't like their chances the rest of the way.
I don't either, and this is as good of a chance as they'll have tonight. You know, they've had some chances. They've yet to capitalize, especially in the second half. They've turned the ball over, and they've allowed some big plays for Pekin as well. So they're going to have a good chance here. It'll be 2nd down and 3, but a first down would create a goal-to-go situation. And this is an area of the field where you can get a little bit creative. You know, you can look to your receivers on some fade routes, throw up some jump balls. You know, you could go right up the middle. We've seen a lot of quarterback draw action for Oldfield tonight, so maybe they go back to that. Maybe they go right up the middle with, you know, whoever's in the backfield. So we'll see how it pans out.
Oldfield is going to look for some space, tosses it out wide, and the receiver is lit up.
I had blanked on Callie Stein's name there, but they don't go to Stein. Instead, that's Bryce Walton, the name we've called sparingly tonight.
On offense.
Yeah.
On defense, he's played a big role, but interesting to see him subbed in, and now it's a 4th and 10 situation for the Little Giants, and of course you go for it here, but the question is, who do you go to?
Yeah, and now I would not shock me to see them come out with a pass, but maybe that turns into a run for Oldfield. Important to note, this is from the 14-yard line, 14 yards to pay dirt. This is probably where this play is designed to go.
Oldfield, plenty of space in the pocket, still wants to run out, and he is wrapped up and brought down at the 20. Dawson Reese on the big sack. And that's a turnover on downs. You got to figure with 11 minutes to go in the 4th quarter, that all but does it. Of course, it's not over until it's over, but it's looking more and more like Pekin will come away with its first victory of the season, handing Canton its first loss.
And I would concur with that statement. All you can do here on Canton is come out defensively and try to come away with a stop here. You know, stay the course. You try to change the course. Weather the storm probably would be the more accurate statement.
There's the handoff. And it's Drake Hawkins. Hawkins upfield. Hawkins to the 40. Hangs on to the football. He's still going to the 45 before he's brought down by a gang of white uniforms.
I don't want to be too harsh, but this storm might be a little difficult to weather. How about that from Hawkins? That's an incredible effort, you know, and you've got to give all the credit in the world to Hawkins there. That Canton defense was on him. They were trying their hardest. They just couldn't bring him down. The whole Little Giants team and some of the bench, it looked like, were needed to stop him. Ball's
Logan
loose.
Buck lost it. We'll see who's on it. And the Little Giants recover the fumble. It's LaShawn Wallace with the fumble recovery. They're not dead yet, Joey, right?
Might the skies be clearing? How about that? That's exact. You know, whatever the final score winds up being, however this game winds up playing out, you know, that's what you've got to do. That's the mark of a good football team. That's the mark of a well-coached football team. Is you come out, you give up that big chunk play, a really deflating one too, where the whole defense gets in and has a hard time making the stop. But you make that stop and you come up with a big play the next time out. So now you've got to build on that on offense. And win, lose, or draw, you know, in this shortened season, you only have 6 games. You've got to come out, enjoy every minute of it, and get something going.
The handoff goes to Wallace. He's tripped up after a gain of 2. Second and 8, excuse me, forthcoming.
On the stop for the Dragons, number 59, Caleb Cope.
And you had the opportunity to speak with Canton head coach Nick Wright yesterday afternoon. That would have been right around the time when we were in Pekin, ironically enough, covering the Dragons soccer match with Peoria Christian. But, you know, based on how I understand that conversation went and what Nick Wright said, you know, you've got to have a lot of optimism in this Canton program.
Oh.
Not only this season, but well beyond.
Oldfield dances around pressure and now scrambles. Brought down with a big hit at short of the 30, and it looks like a personal foul is going to come in here. I don't think the officials liked the post-tackle discussion there, Joey. You saw the tackler got up in Oldfield's face, and it was Lawler. We'll see what the call is here. Don't want to speculate too much. It is a personal foul on Pekin. So that helps Canton's cause as they continue to move downfield. But, Joey, you got to figure Little Giants need to start picking up the pace here.
I would think so. If they want to have any chance at all, you know, they've got to find the end zone quickly and then force some turnovers, come up with some stops. They're down to 2 timeouts, so that's not going to work in their favor. They get a break here on the penalty, and they'll move a little closer to the end zone.
16-yard line.
And at some point, you just like, and you know, maybe you find the end zone for the first time, and that opens things up, and the offense is able to start flowing a little bit better. And maybe the defense takes heed and comes up with a big play.
Oldfield over the middle to Callie Stein. He's still on his feet, still going, dives for the end zone. Touchdown, Little Giants.
Pass is complete to number 42.
Wow, that's a start. Callie Stein, that's what we've seen from him all evening long. So tough to bring down. That second effort is where you've got to watch him. We do have a downed Dragon. Whole ball is well there. But an incredible effort from Callie Stein, and it has the Dragons on the board.
Looks like the injured Dragon.
It's Isaac Lawler who made the big play earlier on the strip and score.
Now as Canton enters the end zone for the first time today, recall back to our discussion before this game started. Little Giants are without their kicker for this game, so they will go for 2. Oldfield looking for the end zone for Goforth, and the conversion is good. Positive momentum for Canton for the first time tonight as they get on the board with a touchdown catch by Callie Stein, and now a 2-point conversion.
Well, and as they try to mount this comeback, that's a big 2-point conversion because it puts one in the bank for later on. If they can score again, tack on another 2-point conversion, that would give them 16, and then they would not have to, you know, even if and I'm assuming here they score 4 times and hold the Dragons scoreless, so I'm assuming they put themselves in a position to tie it up. If they can tack on one more 2-point conversion and then they fail to convert on the subsequent 2, we'd still be looking at a tied ball game. So if you can put those 2-point conversions in the bank early on, that does a lot for you in that regard. And of course, I may be getting a little bit ahead of myself. A lot of work remains to be done. As Larry mentioned earlier, we saw Canton in action last season against Dunlap. That would have been week 8. They were playing with their playoff hopes alive. They needed some help, and they needed to win. They fell just a little bit short, but they found themselves going for 2 with about 20 seconds left to try and win. I would expect them to come out with an onside kick here. Pekin expects the same.
It'll be Stein going for the try. It is an onside kick, and it doesn't even roll far enough, and Stein is frustrated with himself. You can tell as he slams the football. Now the Dragons have great field position to start the fourth quarter on offense, at least. And in case you're just joining us, it's been all Dragons. They held a 6-0 lead going into halftime, but in the third quarter they exploded for 3 touchdowns. And Canton just responded with its first score of the evening on a Callie Stein touchdown catch.
Little Giant 45-yard line. It'll be 1st and 10 for the
Canton
Dragons.
defense that comes out with a little momentum. They forced a fumble on the last Pekin play from scrimmage. 3-man front here. Stack the box.
The handoff goes to Sprecher. And after some early contact, he chugs forward for a gain of 6.
Sprecher making the stop for the Little Giants. Joseph Norton.
Joseph Norton in on the stop, and we're going to see a lot of this from Pekin the rest of the way through, Larry. I would be surprised if the current trends of the game continue, if Pekin were to throw another pass this drive, and maybe we've seen the final Dragons pass tonight. Just they want to keep that clock moving. You know, they don't want to put themselves, oh, hold on a minute.
Little trouble on the snap. Van Ness wasn't ready for it. Almost like a tip drill. Only nobody tipped it except the quarterback, and somehow he turns it into a gain of 3 yards.
It keeps the clock moving, and tough to tell what that play looked like on the snap, but I would not expect. And another thing I would do if I was Pekin, I would come out right under center. The shotgun formation, probably something I would move away from. Just something else that can go wrong, and you know, we go into the inventory of games we saw last season.
Yes, I knew which direction you're going with this.
We certainly did see it go wrong in the Kankakee-Peoria Notre Dame playoff game, 2019.
That snap is a little better, and it results in a first down carry for Tanner Sprecher. But Joey, I do want to discuss that game a little bit because Kankakee jumped out to a few touchdown lead in the second half, and things started to go wrong though. They literally did not run a play under center the entire game. Not even when they kneeled out the clock. They ran it from the shotgun. And a few times they snapped the ball straight over the quarterback's head, and that really helped PND get back into the game. It's the jet sweep. Logan Buck up the sideline. Flags fly before he's bumped out of bounds at the 5-yard line. Not one but 2 flags. So this will likely come back.
And a couple of Dragons are moving back. Looks like holding against the Dragons, and it is. That Kankakee-Peoria Notre Dame playoff game was really weird, though, in that sense. And then Peoria Notre Dame found themselves with the chance to get back into it, you know, an improbable comeback attempt that was negated because of a couple of personal foul calls and some undisciplined play.
This flag is on the Dragons, so this play will come back.
Penalty will be assessed against the Dragons.
Well, Caleb Houston was not very happy on the sidelines as he walked off.
Yeah, Joey, I didn't exactly catch what the call was.
Well, it looked like holding. There were 2 flags on the play. And tough to tell who the flag was thrown on, of course. This isn't quite the NFL or college game where they call it out and make it very clear.
You know what, Joey, for our next broadcast, we just need to buy a wireless microphone and hand it to the head official. We'll see if they call out the penalties for us, but after the flag, Tanner Sprecher keeps his legs moving.
Larry, I'm going to show you a picture on my phone right now, just so you believe me. I walked in with Francisco Alonso, our camera operator, right behind the referees. I have this I took a picture of them for some reason. I should have asked him to be a little more clear while I had the opportunity.
Oh, man. Well, we'll take notes for next week. Looks like a hard count. Got Canton to jump a little bit. And it is offsides on the Little Giants, so that moves the chains for the Dragons as we are under 7 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. Canton, their undefeated season is in danger as they entered this one at 2-0, and Pekin's 2-game losing streak to start the season looks to be coming to an end.
I wanted to say something to him. I wanted to say something like, "Oh, herd of zebras. What are you guys doing here?"
Oh, man. Van Ness will keep it in some trouble, spins, and is sacked. Joey, I can't say that we've ever had much interaction with football officials. Basketball officials are a little friendlier to interact with. You may recall during basketball season when our court mic was knocked over in the midst of the game and our official friend put it back on the mic stand for us.
Yeah, and then we kept seeing that guy, as Josh Schwammer, our photographer tonight, points out. I think basketball officials are just more accessible. You know, we're so far removed from the field. Nice run there for Pekin.
Kanye Tyler on the game. It's been a while since we've called his name. Tanner Sprecher getting the brunt of the carries in quarter number 4 for the Dragons. But, of course, Kanye Tyler, an emerging star, just a sophomore for this Pekin team. So we'll be calling his name for this season and, of course, next fall as well. It'll be exciting to watch. Pekin letting the clock run down. Joe, you make a good point, though. Football officials a little far away.
Yeah, and unless you just happen to walk in when I did tonight.
Van Ness, the fake handoff to Tyler. And a dive forward for a gain of 2. Makes it a 4th and short situation for Pekin.
Gain of a yard on the play. 4th down for the Dragons.
We'll see what they elect to do here, Joey, and it would just make sense for them to take as much time off the clock as possible and then go from there.
Yeah, and I would think it's a weird spot because we have not seen in the 2 Pekin games we've done this season the Dragons attempt a field goal. We've seen Logan Buck kick a couple of extra points. Has a solid leg based on those extra points we've seen. So maybe you run this down, you call a timeout.
They're going to take a timeout. Doug
Yep.
Nutter is just signaled to the official. And so the Dragons let the play clock run all the way down before they take the timeout. We'll see if they elect to kick or if they go for it. But before we discuss, we take this break to remind you that tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. Call 309-347-3115 for all your insurance needs, or visit sfbutler.com. It's Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. And by Oftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Oftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Visit OfteringPekin.com today. Thank you to our sponsors on tonight's presentation of Mid-Illini Conference football, Clutch Sports Media Game of the Week, and want to send a thank you to all our viewers tuning in at home. And if you've enjoyed tonight's broadcast, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a Clutch Sports Media presentation, bringing you Central Illinois' best games every week during this shortened football season.
All right, Dragon fans, here we go. 4th down.
Looks like the Dragons will go for it, Joey.
And you might as well.
Van Ness, the pitch. Kanye Tyler makes a man miss, makes another man miss to the 10, and he's bumped out of bounds. That'll be enough to move the chains. That's a very Kanye Tyler-like run.
Yeah, and it's exactly what we've seen from Tyler this season. If you can't get him on that first attempt, it's trouble because he'll stay up and he'll stay on his feet and he'll keep it moving. And Pekin is in good shape, as if they needed to be here, well into the red zone. And they'll look for pay dirt, but they'll also look to take as much time off the clock as they can.
Kanye Tyler gets a push and is brought down before he can keep his legs moving towards the promised land. And so it's a goal-to-go situation now for the Dragons after that first down. So now it's 2nd and goal from inside the 5-yard line. Ball spotted at the 4.
Forward progress going to mark the ball at the 4-yard line.
Well done.
Thank you.
Right at the 4-yard line.
Thank you. I'm getting better at guessing the yardages. It's been a while. Week 1, I was a little rusty. Van Ness. Another give to Tyler. Trying to get a push. Did he get to the goal line? Yes, he did. Touchdown number 2 for Kanye Tyler. Puts the exclamation point on what will be a big Pekin Dragons victory, their first of the season.
Yeah, and Canton just has seen this one slip a little beyond their grasp. Had a glimmer of hope at the start of the quarter, but Pekin, and we say a glimmer of hope, it was very faint. Pekin has put this game away. They have played a complete game, I would say the whole way through, but really specifically in the second half is when the Dragons have stepped up. They've taken a 6-0 halftime lead and a shanked extra point from Buck.
Looking like you on the golf course,
yeah, a little
Joey.
bit. Yeah, low and not at all where it was intended. But that's a rare blemish in this second half for the Dragons. As I was saying, they've really turned it on. It was 6-0 at the break, and it's 33-8 just about 20 minutes later. So an incredible turn of events here in Pekin. And the Dragons look good. You know, they're at Washington next week. They'll host Metamora on the 16th of April, and then they'll close at East Peoria on the 23rd. I would have to like the Dragons' chances going into the Washington game and into the Metamora game.
As we take a look at the road ahead
yeah.
for both these teams. Canton, as you mentioned, Limestone next week, followed by Washington and Dunlap. Pekin, sort of the gauntlet the next 2 weeks with Metamora and Washington before wrapping things up against East Peoria.
Go forth and Stein.
Yeah, as I said, I gotta like the Dragons' chances in those two. You'd figure the Little Giants have a good opportunity next week versus Limestone, but then at Washington themselves.
Kick is driven back to go forth. He's gonna have enough space to return it, and he gets to nearly the 30-yard line. That's where Canton will start the drive.
Luke Goforth on the kickoff return, making the stop, number 44, Dawson Reese.
Some crisp spring air tonight at Pekin Memorial Stadium. Couldn't ask for a better night for some high school football. 3:23 remain in the ball game.
Yard line, 1st and 10 for the Little Giants.
Looks like some under center action. The pitch to Callie Stein, excuse me, and he's tackled at the 35.
Got the wrong sport there.
Willie Callie Stein, of course. I remember making that mistake last year.
It's an easy one to make.
Carried the Canton game.
Willie Cauley Stein, a lot of success at Kentucky, and now in the NBA. I don't think he plays for the Kings or did at one point. Does play for the. He did. It might be the Mavericks. Yeah, whoever he plays for.
Our resident NBA expert, Evan Johnson, with that call. Want to give a shout out to our crew tonight. Evan Johnson at the controls. Jonathan Michael, our statistician. Francisco Alonso on the roof, operating our game camera as that handoff went to Stein, and he bowled over a man. Josh Schwamm and Jacob Steinberg braving the slight chill in the air tonight, roaming the sidelines for photography and social media purposes. Be sure to stay tuned to our Twitter page at Clutch Sports IL and our Instagram page at Clutch Sports Media for lots of good post-game content coming your way, photos and videos.
He does play for the Mavericks, Willie Cauley Stein. Want to update our viewers on that?
The ball is loose on the snap. Dragons think they have it, and they do. As you see, Braden Beckham hold up the football. Joey, that's, I want to say, the 3rd turnover by Canton and their offense, and against a Pekin team that came out so hungry tonight, looking for its first victory. You just can't afford 3 turnovers.
No, you can't. And that'll put a bow on it and a revenge game of sorts. Of course, Pekin won this game last season 48-8. But last night on ClutchSportsIL.com, it was another yellow and purple team, the Peoria Christian Chargers.
Yeah, let's go purple and gold.
Yellow, gold, yeah, fair enough. Down to the Dragons, 4-0 on the soccer pitch yesterday evening, and you'd think, probably not a lot of correlation between the two games, but still, Pekin's a town and a school that puts a lot of pride in that athletic program. They don't like to see their teams go down.
Backup quarterback in the game now for Pekin. It's Scotty Jordan, the sophomore. And he gives off to his classmate Tyler. And he stood up just past, Hageman on the carry. Handigan on the carry. Shaman Hannigan.
And you would call it gold, I think. Even in the Canton logo, you can see, it's that brighter shade of gold. Goldenrod, I think, would be probably the official term for
we're really going into Pantones now, aren't we?
We certainly are. But as you see, a beautiful shade of more old gold on the Canton Little Giants helmets and uniforms tonight. And, of course, that's across all of their sports, I believe, as well. Beautiful uniform matchup tonight, contrasting with the red and the black.
Another short give and short gain. Hannigan once again.
I must say here as we approach the final minute of the game, Pekin's helmets may be among my favorites in the entire Mid-Illini Conference. Canton right up there, those gold helmets, really like those lids as well. But I just love that metallic red on the helmet stripe and on the P there on the Dragons helmets, and really ties that whole set together. Clock running, and Larry Pekin has played a complete game all evening long.
Hand off to Hannigan again, and he dives forward.
Shaman Hannigan on the carry for the Dragons.
And that one will be the final play from scrimmage tonight. And Joey, as the clock winds down on the fourth quarter and Pekin's first victory of the season, we turn our attention to the player of the game. Sponsored by Zach Butler State Farm. Who's your pick?
It's got to be Kanye Tyler, right? Pekin's running back had a phenomenal evening. 16 carries, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns. The final line for Kanye Tyler. He keyed the Dragons all evening long. There's a lot of options to choose from. Kanye Tyler's my pick, but you've got to credit the special teams unit for Pekin as a whole, stepping up and returning that kick early in the third quarter. And a couple other players stepped up. Isaac Lawler made a big play. But hands down, I think the player of the game, if we're looking at it as a whole, has got to be Kanye Tyler for our Zach Butler State Farm player of the game.
That dragon can be lit proud tonight as Pekin comes out with its first victory of a pandemic-shortened 2021 season by a final of 33-8. And Joey, we've talked plenty about Pekin, but Canton's undefeated season comes to an end here in week 3 as they fall to 2-1. What are the biggest takeaways on that side of things?
Yeah, they just came out and they weren't able to mount a lot on offense. And the couple of long drives they were able to get going, ended in turnovers, just ended in a couple of things that favored Pekin. And, I liked what I saw from Oldfield. I liked what I saw tonight from a lot of the Little Giants skill guys. Lucas Goforth made a lot of nice catches out there lined up as a receiver. But all told, they just weren't able to be consistent enough in the first half. And then in the second half, Pekin really cranked it up and pulled away. But we talked about it, Nick Wright in his first season at the helm of this Canton Little Giants program. I would expect big things for them the rest of the season. They have a good opportunity next week against Limestone and then at Washington and Dunlap to close out the season. That will be a tough couple of games, but regardless, I like the way this program's going. They played with a lot of heart in that second half, even as it started to slip away. The Dragons will celebrate, as well they should, but this Canton program is here to stay, I believe.
As they huddle around their teammate and our player of the game, Kanye Tyler, and we one more time want to remind you that tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin, our sponsor of the player of the game as well. Call 309-347-3115 for all your insurance needs, or visit sfbutler.com to learn more. And by Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Visit UfteringPekin.com. So that about does it tonight from Pekin Memorial Stadium. For our entire Clutch Sports media team, Jonathan Michael on stats, Evan Johnson at the controls, Francisco Alonso on the roof of the press box working the game camera, Jacob Steinberg and Josh Schwam roaming the sidelines for social media, and my partner Joey Wright. I am Larry Larson saying so long and good night from Pekin. It's the Dragons coming out victorious 33-8 to capture their first win of the season. So long, everybody.